guys, this is Ayushi from Edureka and today we'll be learning Python scripting. So let's just quickly jump on to our agenda and let's see what's there in our plate today. So we'll start off this session by first discussing how scripting language is different from any other programming language. After that, we will be discussing about Python and the most popular versions that are out there in the market today. Then we will directly jump onto the practical aspects wherein we will learn about different modules in Python, how can you perform AWS scripting using the Boto module. So under this topic, I will be telling you how can you write scripts to launch an EC2 instance or create a S3 bucket in AWS. And all of this can be done by just writing few lines of code, guys. And finally, towards the end, we will be going through the basics of GUI programming and will implement some of that as well. So I hope you got the objective of this session. Now let us begin with the very first topic, that is scripting versus programming language. Or what is the difference between a scripting language and a programming language? So scripting is used to automate certain tasks. Now there is one more thing, that scripting language is less code intensive as compared to any traditional programming language. They do not require the compilation step and are rather interpreted. So for example, a Java program needs to be compiled before running, whereas normally a scripting language like Python, JavaScript or PHP need not be compiled. Now as you can see here, in Java it creates a class file and then the output will be displayed. Whereas in Python, all the codes are executed at the runtime. So programming languages are compiled whereas your scripting languages are interpreted. So basically a compiler translates your entire code and then runs the program. Whereas an interpreter, it translates and runs your code one instruction at a time. Now I would also like to add here that Python is just not the scripting language. It can also compile a Python code into bytecode and then interprets it just like Java does. And it's nothing like one language is better or worse than the other. Every language has its pros and cons. Next, let us not deviate and understand the next topic, which is introduction to Python. So Python, which is very famous, many big clients like Google, YouTube uses it. So it must be having some great features. So now let me just list a few of them. So first of all, Python is easy, free and open source. The first reason lies here that it is extremely readable since it closely resembles your English language. Also, it was created by Guido van Rossum in 1989 and was released first in 1991. Next, it supports your procedural-oriented as well as object-oriented programming. Now, I've already told you that it's an interpreted language. So it's also a high-level language where one does not need to bother about low-level details. You can simply write your code in English and Python will in turn convert it into low-level details. Then moving ahead, Python is portable as well as extensible. So by portability, I mean it is fit for many platforms, be it Linux platform, be it Macintosh, be it Solaris or any other. Then it is extensible. So by extensibility of Python, I mean you can completely integrate Java as well as .NET components with it. Isn't this great, guys? You can do a lot of things with Python. Next, let us move ahead and talk about the popular versions of Python. So there are a lot of confusion between Python 2 and Python 3. So let me first clear this confusion and then we'll move ahead with the practical demo. So if you're learning new, just jump into Python 3 because it has come up with some neat and clean features. And also it is the present and the future of the programming language. But if you're already learning Python 2 or 2.7 or any version of 2x family, don't worry guys, Python 2 is not so different in terms of your core language. There are just a few differences here and there, and if you learn to code in Python 2, it will hardly take you some time to learn the differences and the syntax. So we all know that Python 2 is used for many years. Many organizations make use of version 2 or 2.7, which contains a large number of libraries with a wonderful support community. But again, with the release of Python 3, many libraries require support of the latest version. So let's say if you are doing web development and using a lot of libraries, then you must go for Python 3. Also, Python 3 has recently gained a lot of attention from the developers. There is a lot of additional features such as your overall performance has been increased. Then you have a better interpreter history. Also, there are auto completion features and you have many more like that. It has also fixed some of the minor glitches from the older version and released Python 3, which is more stronger. So it is faster and quite a stable version till now. So as I already told you guys, Python 2 is a legacy, whereas Python 3 is the present and the future of the programming language. So you can learn either version of Python, which you can later tailor according to your needs. Even if you start learning from Python 2.7, it will be a no big deal to shift to the latest version as far as your focus remains to learn Python. So I guess enough of theory part. Next, let us discuss the various modules in Python. So a module in Python is basically a file which contains Python definitions and statements. Now as you can see here, I will be talking about these modules. So it is majorly classified into sys module, then OS module, subprocess, math, random, datetime module, and the JSON module. So let me begin with the very first module, that is the sys module. So now sys module basically provides you the information about the constants, functions, and the methods of Python interpreter. So it is basically responsible for controlling and interacting with the interpreter. Now, for example, if you want to know any information on operating system or the version of Python you are using, you will be using sys module for that. So first, let us import sys using the import statement. So it means practically show you how this can be done. So let me just open my IDE, that is PyCharm. Alright, so I am in my PyCharm community edition project named as Python Scripting. So now inside this project, I will be creating a Python file. Let's say I'll name this as sys module. So now the first thing that you need to do is to import this module. So all you have to do is to just type in import sys. Now let's go ahead and print the version. Let's say I want to know the current version of Python. So what I'll do, I'll type in print sys.version and let me just run it. So as you can see here, the current version of Python that I am using is Python 3.6.1. So let me just zoom this a bit. Alright. Next, if I have to print the command line arguments which is passed to the script. So what I can do, I can simply type in, let's say print sys.argv. So basically argv is a list which contains the command line arguments passed to a script. So let me just run this again. So as you can see here, we are in this location which is in D drive in IOC folder. Then I have a project name followed by the file that I've just created. So as you can see here, argument follows the script name. So whatever argument we have currently, we don't have it right now, but whatever we have it, it will follow the script name. Now similarly, we have a lot of functions. We have stderr, which basically stores your error messages. Then we have stdin, stdout, which is used to accept the input from the user, whereas your stdout method prints it to the screen. Then you have an exit function, which basically tells your interpreter to quit, or you can say it's a direct way to end a Python script. Next, let me go back to the presentation and let's see what is my next module. So next is my OS module, which stands for operating system. So it must be pretty clear that this module is used to interact to my operating system. Also, the primary use of this module is to create folders, remove folders, move your folders, or sometimes change your working directory as well. So you can also access the names of your file path by just typing in list_dir. So let me just show you some of the operations with this OS module. So I'll go back to my PyCharm. Let me create one more file here and I'll name it as OS module. So now first of all I have to import the module, so I'll type in import OS. Now let us first print the current working directory. So I'll type in print os.get current working directory, that is CWD. And let me just run this now. As you can see here that my current working directory has been printed. Now you can also change this directory. So for that what you need to do, you just need to type in chdir and just give the path. So let me just do that as well. So I'll type in os.chdir, that is for change directory, and inside this I'll be giving a path. So let's say I want to go in this directory only, D IUC Python Scripting. So I'll go to my files. So let's say I am in my D drive and inside IUC folder I am creating a new folder over here. Let's say new. Let the name be new folder only, and I'll just go inside this and I'll copy the path from here. Now I'll go back to my PyCharm again and then paste the path over here. So remember guys, whenever you copy or paste the path, you have to be careful for the slashes. You have to keep in mind that either double backslash will work or a single front slash will work. So I'll just type in here double backslash and I'll just print my current working directory. So I'll just cut it from here and I'll just paste it below that. And now let me just run this. So as you can see guys, my current working directory has been changed to new folder. So this new folder is we have just created, and using the command chdir I have just changed my path. So we have talked how to create a different directory altogether. But what if you need a directory in an existing directory? So yes, you can go ahead and create a directory as well. For that what you need to do, you just need to type in os.mkdir. So let me just type in os.mkdir, that is a make directory, and I can write the path over here. So let me just take this path only, and inside of new folder I want a folder named as Edureka, and let me just comment the above sections. Alright, So as you can see here, we don't have a directory named as Edureka. So now let me just run this. Alright, so remember guys, a double backslash or a single front slash will only work. So I'll just change this to double backslash, and now I'll just run this. Alright, so here it says that the name already exists. So let me just type in Edureka 1, and now if I just run this, so here you can see inside my D folder, then in Ayushi folder, I have one folder named as Edureka 1. So let me just go to my folder, and here it must be Edureka 1. So as you can see here, I have a folder named as Edureka 1. So if you don't want to do it over here, you can directly do it in your PyCharm also. So for that, let me just copy this path. This is my present directory. So I'll just copy my path, and over here, I'll be pasting in this path. So now this folder, or you can just write Edureka, and I'll just type in double backslash. And if I run this code, you will see the Edureka directory here. So now let me just run this code. So if you run this code, you will see that Edureka folder, or you can see the directory, has been created over here. Now you can also remove this directory by just right clicking it and delete it. But now if you want to do it by code, so for that what you can do, you can simply type in os.remove directory, that is rmdir, and then you can just mention the path. So I'll just copy the path. So now I don't need this Edureka directory over here, so I'll just paste it over here. I'll just comment this line, and now let me just run it. So as you can see, Edureka directory which was present over here has been deleted. Next, similarly, you can delete a file as well. So let's say I don't want to delete a directory. Instead of that, I want to delete one file. So let me just delete sys modules. Let me just copy the path from here. And to remove a file, I just need to type in os.remove, and I'll just paste the path over here. Remember guys to put the double backslash or a single front slash. So I'll just put a double backslash. I'll just comment the above line, and I'll just run this. So as you can see, sys module which is present over here has been deleted now. Next, you can also learn about another submodule of OS, which is os.path. So it provides a range of useful methods to manipulate the files and directories. So let me implement some of the methods of this also. So first, let us talk about join. So os.path.join is one of the important OS path tools. So it takes one or more paths and joins them by using the current OS path separator. So let us join two paths. So let me just comment this. So now I need to perform the join operation. So I'll just simply type in os.path.join, and inside this I'll be writing two paths. So first of all, what I'll do, I'll just simply copy my directory path. So I'll take it from here, I'll paste it over here. Then I'll be writing another path. Let's say I want to join the OS module. So I'll just copy the path, I'll type it over here, and I'll add the double backslash. Alright, so now let me just run this. So as you can see here, my OS module has been joined with the Python scripting. So next, you can also split these paths. So basically, split function, it takes a path name and returns it into the two parts, that is the directory path and the file name. So for that, what you can do, you can type in print, I'll say os.path, and I'll paste the path. So let me just copy this path. Alright, and I'll just comment this. Let me just now run it. So as you can see, it has split it into two parts. First is the directory, and second is the Python file that is present over here. So that is how you can use another function that is split. Next, you can also use another function that is exist. So this will basically tell that whether the path exists or not. So it will return you a true or a false value. So I'll just type in over here exists, and I need to mention a path. So in spite of this, let's say I want the OS module path. So I'll just copy the path and I'll paste it over here. I'll add the double backslash, and I'll just run this. So now as you can see, this path exists, so it is giving me the value true. Now similarly, if the path doesn't exist, it will give you the value as false. So these are some of the methods which are used in the OS module. Next, let me go back to my presentation and pick up the next module. So my next module is subprocess. So this module basically lets you interact with the operating system to create new processes, pass the information into and out of them, and then get the return codes. So it can be used by using the call function. So you can simply write subprocess.call, and what will it do? It will basically run a command, wait for the commands to finish, and then gives back the return code. So this is pretty much basic, guys. Next, let us talk about the next module, that is the math module. So as the name says, it performs various mathematical functions. Let's say if you want to find out sine of x, or let's say tan of x, you can do it very easily using this module. You can also convert a number from radians to degree or vice versa. Or you want to calculate the natural log, or let's say log base 10, and a lot of other things. So using this math module, you can perform angular conversions, hyperbolic functions, special functions, and you can do a lot of other things. So let me just implement few of it for you. So I'll again go back to my PyCharm. I'll create one more file. Let's say this is maths module. So first of all, I need to import it. So I'll type in import math. So now let me just return the value of constant. So for that, what I'll be doing, I'll be typing in math. I'll be first typing in print. And inside that, I'll be printing the value of pi. Alright, so let me just run this. So as you can see, the value of pi has been printed. Next, what you can do, you can return the value of a constant also. So let me just type in math.e. So this will basically returns me the value of constant e. So as you can see here, the value of e has been printed. Next, what you can do, you can also convert an angle from radians to degree. So for that, what I'll be doing, I'll be typing in print math.degrees. Inside that, I'll be writing any value, let's say 0.1, and let me just print it now. So as you can see here, the value has been converted from a radians to degree, that is 5.72. Similarly, you can find the cosine of x, or you can say any value in radians, in degrees, or anything. So let me just do that as well. So I'll just type in print math.acos, and inside this I'll be giving a value, let's say 0.5. And let me just comment the above statements. And now let me just run this so that you guys will not get confused. So here, as you can see, the cosine value has been printed. Next, I want to do it for sine as well. So I can simply type in a sine, and let me just run this. So here the value of sine has been printed. Similarly, you can do for tan as well. Let me just type in a tan, and I'll be giving the value, let's say 5, and let me just print it now. So as you can see here, the value has been printed. So why we're writing a? Because it will basically return the arctangent of x in radians, which is the value present over here. You can also type in, let me just copy this and let me just paste it over here. Alright. So in spite of writing a tan, you can simply type in cos, and inside that I'll be giving a value, let's say 3, and let me just print it now. So here it returns me the cosine of x, or you can say the cosine of 3 in radians. Now we have a lot of other functions as well. So let me just implement power and logarithmic functions. So let me just comment this till here, and I'll just copy it, I'll paste it over here. So let me just implement some of the power and logarithmic functions. So I'll just type in math.exp, and inside that I'll be giving a value 2. So this will basically return me e raised to power 2. So let me just run this. So as you can see here, it returns me the value of e raised to the power 2. Next, let me implement one logarithmic function as well. I'll just copy this first. And instead of this, I'll be typing in math.log. And here I'll be saying x comma base. So here with one argument, you can return the natural logarithm of x to the base e. And with two arguments, you can return the log of x to the given base. So let me just do that as well. I'll just type in x base 10, or you can say 10 base 10. So let me just run this now. So we know that log 10 base 10 is 1. So it's giving me the value 1. Next, let us go back to my presentation and let's see what is the next module. So next is my random module. So this module will basically help you to generate random numbers. So it's a pseudo random number generator for various distributions. Let's say you don't want to type the number. So you'll ask your computer to generate some random numbers, and that is how it is used. So let me just go back to PyCharm and let us implement few of the operations of this random module. So now let me just go here and I'll create one more file which I'll name as random module. Alright, so first of all I need to import the module, that is random. Next, let me just print some random numbers. So for that, what I'll be doing, I'll be typing in print random dot rand range, and I'll specify the range. So I'll type in 0, 50, or I can simply say 50, and let me just print this. So this will basically give me the number which will never be greater than 50. So as you can see here, it gives me the number 2. Then let me run it again. It has given me 25. Let me run it again. It has given me 38. and so on the numbers will be generated, but again it will not exceed the number that is 50. Now if I want to make this in a range of, let's say I want to make it in the range of 0 to 50. So here it will just give me the numbers between 0 and 50. And also you can add some steps to it. So let's say I want the step size to be 10. So let me just print this and let us see what does this step size mean. So here if you see, it's giving me the result in step size of 10. So it's giving me 10, then it's giving me 30, then it's giving me 10 again, 20. So basically it gives me the output between 0 to 50 and in the step size of 10. So it will not be less than 0 and it will not be greater than 50. Now you can also change the step size. Let me just change the step size to 5 and now let me just run this. So as you can see here, it's giving me in step size of 5. So here it has been printed 25, then it's giving me 20, then it's giving me 5. Similarly, there will be numbers that will be generated. Now next, if you want this in integers, so what you can do, you can simply type in print random.randint and you can specify the range. So let's say I want the range in, let's say 0 to 20, and let me just first comment this and let me now print this. So now it will give me the random numbers, or you can say the integer numbers between the range that is 0 to 20. So here it's giving me 9, then it's giving me 2, it's giving me 6, and hence the number will be generated like these. So now let me go back to my presentation and let's see what is my next module. So my next module is datetime module. So this module basically includes the tools for working with dates, time and their combinations. So the time module includes the tools for working with time and dates in the recent past to the near future. So it focuses mostly on manipulating time based on the computer's internal representations of time. So let me go back to PyCharm and let's implement some of the functions of this module. So I'll just create a new file. Let's say time module. And first of all, I need to import it. So I'll just type in import datetime. Next, first let's print today's date. So for that, what I'll be doing, I'll be typing in print datetime dot date dot today. So now let me just run this. So as you can see here, the current date has been printed. So today it's 21st March 2018. So now you can also perform some arithmetic function on this. For example, when you perform an arithmetic function on datetime objects, you will get the result in a time delta object. So basically their attributes are days, seconds and microseconds. So I'll create a new object, let's say now, and I'll say datetime dot today. So now what I'll do, I'll print the difference between the two dates. So what I'll do, I'm applying some arithmetic operations to them, where you will get the result in a time delta object. So let me create one more object, let's say other, and I'll say other.date equals to datetime.datetime, and I'll mention a date, let's say 1994. And now let me just print the difference between these two objects. So I'll say print now minus other. So now let me just comment the above print statement so that you guys do not get confused. And now let me just run this. Alright, so here I have not specified a comma. So now let me just run this. Alright, so as you can see here, difference between these two dates has been printed. So I have already told you that the attributes for these are days, seconds and microseconds. So here it is telling me that 8563 days are there, and then we have the other detailing as well. Next, let us see the last module, that is my JSON module. So JSON is popular in communicating between the web servers and the clients. So in Python, the JSON module provides an API similar to convert in memory Python objects to a serialized representation that is known as JSON, or you can say JavaScript object notation, and vice versa. So JSON has the benefit of having implementations in many languages, and especially JavaScript, making it suitable for your inter-application communication. So this JSON module provides an easy way to encode and decode data in JSON. So now let me just go back to my PyCharm and let us implement this as well. So I'll create one more file, JSON module. First of all, I need to import it. So I'll just type in import JSON. So now what I'll be doing, I'll be first typing in some data in JSON. So let's say I have an employee data. So I'll say employee data equal to, let's say I have some people, and let me just give some attributes to them. So I'll say the name, let's say the name is Ayushi. Then I'll specify an email. So I'll type in email and then I'll just type in, let's say aa@gmail.com. And then let me just give one more email ID. Let's say @gmail again. Then I'll give one more attribute. Let's say married, or you can say the marital status. So I'll say false. And I'll just close this. Similarly, I'll take one more. So I'll just copy it from here. I'll just paste it. I'll just change the name. So let's say this time it's Anamika. I'll change some email ID as well. And now let me just print it. So I'll just print this employee data. So as you can see here, my JSON has been printed. Now let me do it in Python as well. So I'll just take a variable, let's say data, and I'll just load this JSON. So I'll say json.loads, and inside this I'll be just passing my JSON. That is my employee data. And I'll just print it. Let me just run this now. Alright, so it's giving me some error. Alright, so I haven't closed this, so I'll just close this. Alright, so I guess it will work now. So let me just run this now. Yes, so as you can see here, my JSON which is being printed over here, and that is how when I just load the data in Python, it gives me this result. So basically it has converted your JSON to a dictionary. So whenever you load JSON into Python, it uses some conversions such as your JSON object has been converted to dictionary. So as you can see here, your data has been in key value pairs now. So this is my key and this is the value to the key. Similarly, I have another key which is email and this is the value to it. So basically, whenever you load the data in Python, it has the object, or you can say the JSON object is converted to a dictionary. Now, there are also few more changes which has been done. So if you see here, such as your array has been converted to list, then if you see here, you have a JSON which says that married is false. And if you see here, it has been converted to the uppercase false. So these are some of the conversions which Python do. There's one more conversion where you have a value which is null, and then if you see it over here, it will be changed to none. So that is how whenever you load a JSON into Python, it uses some conversions. Also, this JSON module provides an easy way to encode and decode in JSON. So there are basically two main functions which are json.dumps and json.loads. So I've already told you about json.loads. So here you have a function which says json.load, and inside that you can just load a file. Similarly, you have json.loads. So basically this does a difference of s. So whenever you want to load a string, so for that what you can do, you can just type in json.loads, and inside the brackets you can pass on the string value. Now you have another function which is called as json.dump. So using this function you can just load the JSON object to a file. And again, if you type in json.dumps, you will be having an output JSON object as a string. So that is how JSON object plays a major role in the modules in Python. So now let's move on to our next topic, that is AWS scripting. So here we'll be talking about the Boto module, which is an AWS SDK for Python. So in AWS, we'll be performing two tasks. First of all, we'll be creating an EC2 instance, and then we'll create a S3 bucket. Now let us see how you can configure this Boto module. So first of all, to import Boto, you just need to type in pip install Boto 3. And once the installation has been done, you also need to install the AWS command line. So for that, you just need to type in pip install AWS CLI. Many times there are some problems regarding pip. So what you can do, you can go to Google and you can just download the MSI file for AWS CLI. Then once this is done, you can just type in AWS configure, and then they'll be asking you for the access key. So now let us just go to my PyCharm and let us implement how we can do that. So I'll just create one more file. Let's say AWS scripting. So first of all, I'll just go to my terminal. So I'll just type in pip install Boto 3. So now this will take some time. So now it tells me that the requirement is already satisfied. So I already have my Boto 3 installed. So next what you need to do, you need to install the AWS CLI. So I'll just type in pip install AWS CLI and I'll hit enter. So again, I have already installed my AWS CLI. So again, it's giving me this statement that the requirement already satisfied. Next step, you need to type in AWS configure. So I'll just type in AWS configure. So now as you can see, it's asking me for the AWS access key ID. So what I'll be doing, I'll be going to the AWS Management Console and I'll be generating a user which has an access key to it. So once you configure your AWS, it will ask you for the AWS access key. So now to find that access key, what you need to do, you need to go to your AWS Management Console, and there you have to create a user which will be having an access key to it. So let me just go to my AWS Management Console. Alright, so this is my AWS Management Console. So over here, I'll be just typing in IAM, which basically stands for your Identity and Access Management. So over here, you just need to go to Users and just add a user over here. So I'll just create one user over here. So I'll say user, I'll give a name to it. So let's say user1. So let me just give the permissions to it. Just click on next. So I'll add some policies. Then let me add some administrator access. And then just quickly go and click on next. So here, as you can see, I have a username, I have access type, and you have all the required information. Then you just need to create a user. So I just click on create user. It will just take some time. So as you can see here, I have the user which is named as user1. Then I have the access key ID and I have the secret access key along with the password. So here what you need to do, you can simply download the CSV. So I'm just downloading the CSV from here. Now why I'm telling you to download it, because later if you face any problem with the AWS authentication, you will not be able to access these keys. So the better way is to just download the CSV. So I'll just open the CSV and let me show you what all is present over there. So as you can see here, I have the username, I have the password, I have the access key ID, and I have the secret access key. And this is the console link. So what I'll be doing, I'll be just copying this access key ID and I'll paste it to my pie chart. So here it's asking me the AWS access key, so I'll just paste it over here. Then it's asked me for the AWS secret access key, so I'll again go to that CSV and I'll copy this and I'll paste it over here. Then it tells me the default region, which is US East 2. Okay. And I'll just click on enter. So here my AWS has been configured and the default region is US East 2. So now let me just go to my coding part and let us just write the script for it. But first let's understand what exactly they are. So EC2 basically stands for your Elastic Cloud Computing, which is a web service which provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud. So it is basically designed to make the web scale computing easier for developers. So it allows the users to rent virtual computers on which to run their own computer application. So there are many big companies who use EC2 like Lamborghini, Netflix, NASA, and many more like that. So now let me just go to my coding part and let us just write the script for it. So first of all, I'll just go ahead and import Boto 3. Next, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating an EC2 instance. So for that, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating an object, let's say EC2. Then I'll say EC2 equals to Boto3 dot resource, and inside this I'll be passing EC2. So here I'll be writing a script so to launch an EC2 instance without manually going to the AWS console and adding the instance over there. So I can show you that as well. So let me just go to AWS console. So here, as you can see, the first compute service is EC2. So I'll just click on it. So what you can do, you can come to this AWS Management Console and launch the instance from here. But in spite of this, what I'll be doing, I'll be writing a script so that an EC2 instance can be launched automatically. So next, what I have to do, I have to type in instance is equals to ec2.createInstance. And inside that, I'll be giving some specifications to it. So first of all, I'll be giving the image ID, or you can say the AMI, which stands for Amazon Machine Image. So here I'll be giving that. So from where I can find this image ID. So again, I'll go back to my Amazon console and I'll click over launch instance. So here, as you can see, I have my AMI, or you can say the image ID. So I'll just copy this image ID and I'll paste it over here. Next, I just need to give the min count and max count. Next, I'll be specifying the type of instance. So I have t2.micro. And finally, I'll be printing the ID of the instance that has been created or that has been launched. So I'll say instance 0 and I'll just type in ID. I'll just remove the extra brace. Alright. So here, as you can see, I have just created an EC2 instance wherein I have just given the image ID and specified the min, max and the instance type. So now let me just run this. Or before that, I'll just go to my console and show you that there are no such EC2 instance running. So I'll go to on instances. So as you can see here, I don't have any instance. Now let me go back to code and let me just run this code now. So as you can see here, it has printed me the ID of the instance. So now let me go back to my console and let's see whether the instance has been launched here or not. So now let me just refresh this. So yes, it has been launched. It has the same instance ID which is given over here, and the instance type is T2 micro, and the instance state is pending right now, but it will be launched in just a few seconds. So let us just wait for some time. So as you can see here, my instance is up and running now. Now you can also delete this instance. So you can also go here, you can click on actions, and you can just go to instance state and terminate it. But again, if you have to do it to Python script, so what you can do, you can go to a PyCharm again and you'll just type in instance ID. So I'll specify my ID, which is this. So I'll just copy it from here. Then what I'll be doing, I'll be just saying instance is equals to EC2, and I'll give the instance ID to it. Then I'll be having response wherein I will terminate this EC2 instance. So I'll just type in instance.terminate and I'll just print the response. So first of all, let me just comment this part so that the new instance is not being generated. Alright. So this is the code for deleting the instance. So here I have just specified the instance ID that I need to terminate and I've just print the response. So now let me just run this. So as you can see here, it has been terminated. We have the current state, then we have the code, we have the name to shutting down, and we have the instance ID. So here it is also telling me that the previous state was running and now it has been changed to shutting down. So let me just go to my console and let us see whether here we have changes or not. So let me just refresh it. So here as you can see, it has been shutting down. So now just wait for a few seconds and it will be terminated. So as you can see here, my instance has been terminated without manually going to the actions and then clicking it over here. So you can simply write the Python codes and it will indeed do the same task for you. So isn't this easy, guys? Now let me go back to my presentation and let's see what is my next task. So here I have just launched an EC2 instance and then we have terminated the state as well. Moving ahead, let us understand AWS S3. So AWS S3 is a simple storage which is offered by AWS. So it is basically a web service interface that can be used to store and retrieve the data. So S3 basically stands for your simple storage service, which is a storage for the internet. So S3 provides object storage which is similar to your file system, wherein the folders are represented as buckets and the contents of the buckets are known as the keys. So now let us move ahead and launch a S3 bucket as well. So now let me create a new file. Let's say S3 scripting. So first of all, I need to import my Boto module. So now what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a S3 storage. So I'll be typing in S3 Boto3 dot resource, the same thing that we have done for EC2. So inspired this, I'll be just typing in S3. Now let me go back to my AWS console and let's see where this S3 is present and how can you manually create an S3 bucket. So I'll just go to my services. I'll go in my storage S3. So as you can see here, I have a button over here which says create bucket. So you can manually go and create a bucket from here. And these are the buckets that have been stored in my account. Now what I'll be doing, I'll be writing a Python script so as to create a S3 bucket automatically for me. So I'll just type in, let's say the name of the bucket. So I'll type in bucket name and I'll specify a name, let's say bucket 1. And I'll try some try catch to it. So I'll say response equals to S3 dot create bucket, wherein I'll pass on the bucket name. So I'll say bucket is equals to my bucket name, which is bucket 1. Then I'll just pass the configuration. So I'll say create bucket configuration and I'll set some attributes to it. So I'll be giving in the first attribute, that is location constant, and I'll specify the location. So remember guys, when you were configuring your AWS account, they gave you an option to fill in the access key. So there also they ask you for the default location. So there I didn't change any, so I have the default location as US East 2, and here I'll just print my response. Then I'll be just typing in the except, that is the exception, accept exception as error, and I'll just print the error if any error comes. So now let me just run this code. Alright, so here it's giving me an error that invalid bucket name. Alright, so I'll just change this bucket name. Let's say Ayushi bucket. So I'll just run this code now. So as you can see here, I have the response which says S3 bucket and with the name Ayushi bucket. So now let me go back to my AWS console and let's see whether the bucket has been created here or not. So here as you can see, I don't have any bucket with this name. But now let me just refresh it. So now as you can see, my S3 bucket has been created. So guys, this is how you can write simple codes and implement a lot of things by using Python. So now let us go back to my presentation and let's see what is the next task. So here we have successfully launched an S3 bucket. Next, let us move on to our last topic, which is the GUI programming. Python provides a various options for developing your GUIs, which is nothing but your graphical user interfaces. So many libraries which are being commonly used are tkinter, then we have Jython, we have wxPython. So let us just create a GUI using tkinter. So here this is my library which is called as tkinter, and this is a simple code wherein you will just generate a window. So now let me go back to my PyCharm and let us see how tkinter works. So here I'll be creating a new file. Let's say GUI Programming. And over here I'll be first importing tkinter. So I'll say import tkinter. You can also import these libraries by going to File, just going to Settings. And under the project, just go to the project interpreter. And over here you can add the packages from here. So you just need to click on this plus icon and the list of packages will be displayed to you. So from here you can import any package. So now recently we have talked about Boto, so we can just type in Boto 3 and here Boto 3 is present. So you just click it on here and install the package. So guys, if you have any issues or any problems regarding the code, comment below the video and I'll be happy to help you with the same. So now let us just come back to our program and let's implement tkinter. So tkinter is available for all the versions of Python. Now first of all, let us check whether this tkinter is working or not. So for that, let me just type in tkinter dot underscore test and now just run this. So here as you can see, I have this pop-up coming up which gives me this window with two buttons which is click me and quit. So this proves me that my tkinter is successfully installed. Now what I'll do, I'll remove this line and I'll be creating a blank window wherein we have a close sign, minimize and all that stuff. So for that what I need to do, I need to type in from tkinter import tk. So now let us enter some dummy text to it. For that let me just remove this. So here I have just import tk. So you can also import from tkinter import ttk, or you can simply write in from tkinter import star. Now what I'll be doing, I'll be creating an object, or you can say, let's say it's named as root. So I'll say root is equals to tk. So here the root is basically a class which is the main window that surrounds our interface. Then once we have done that, we'll give a title to this. So we'll say root.title, and inside this I'll be writing some text. So let's say first GUI using Python. Next I'll be adding some button as well. So for that I'll be just typing in ttk.button and I'll be passing in the root and a text to this button. So let's say I want the text as hello Edureka and I'll set a grid to it. So grid is nothing but a simple layout manager which will help you to structure different components or the widgets inside the window. Next I'll just close this loop. So I'll just type in root.main loop. So as I've already explained you that this window will keep on running until unless you decide to close it. So here I'll just run this code, and as you can see here I have a title to this window as well as a button. So now let us see the different components which can be used in a GUI application. Let me go back to my presentation once. So I have discussed how you can create a window. Next, what are the different components in a GUI? So these are the basic components which are present in a GUI application. So first we'll start off with the labels, how you can add a label. Then we'll see how you can create a button. So we have already seen how you can create a button. Then what we'll be doing, we'll be creating a frame wherein we have the label as well as buttons. Then we'll go into the details of grid, where is geometry manager, and it tells how you can define all the components within a window. Then we'll be talking about the radio buttons and check buttons as well. So let me go back to my PyCharm and let us implement these. So till now we have just given a title and a button to it. Now let us create a frame. So for that let me first comment this code. Alright. So now let us create a frame. So frame is nothing but a widget which surrounds the other widgets. So I'll just type in frame and I'll say frame and I'll pass in the root, which is nothing which has tk, or you can say tkinter. Next I'll be creating a label text. So let's say label text and I'll say string var. So over here I'm just defining this, but we'll be changing the text for the label components. So now let's create a label and buttons with some attributes. So first of all, I'll create a label. So let's say label is equals to label and it should be inside a frame. So I'll just type in frame and then I have text variable equals to my label text. So here this label text will be changing this afterwards. Now let's have a button. So I'll say button, which should be placed inside a frame, and we have a text, let's say hey, I am a button. Then let us just change the text inside the label component. So for that, what you can do, you can type in label text dot set. Inside this I can just change the text. So let's say I want to type in hey, what's up. And then what I'll be doing, I'll be just using a pack. So pack is nothing but it's a geometry manager which defines how all components are arranged inside the window. Or you can say it's used to position the widgets inside a label. So I have just packed my label. Then what I need to do, I need to pack my button as well. So I say button.pack. I'll pack my frame as well. And finally, I'll be just closing the loop. So I'll say root.main loop and I'll just run this. So let me just expand this a bit. So as you can see here, I have a label and I have a button. And as you can see here, my label text has been changed as well. Now you can also have various attributes to this GUI application. You can also fill the directions to it. You can mention whether it should be stretched among the x-axis or y-axis, or it should be stretched from both of them. And there are a lot of things you can do it. So here let me just implement some of the attributes to it. So I have just commented all the above code. And inside this I'll be having one label. So I'll say label, it should be inside a frame. Then I have a text, let's say it's hey, and I'll just simply pack this. Next I have a button which is again inside a frame. I have a text to it, so let's say text is b1, and then I'll just pack this. Now when I pack this, I can mention the attributes such as I'll say that it should be in the left hand side. Then I'll specify the fill, which should be filled in the y direction. So this fill direction basically it will tell you how they will be stretched. So it will be stretched along the x-axis or y-axis or xy axis or both of them. Similarly, you can have many more buttons like that. So I'll just copy this line and I'll just paste it over here. And I'll just change the text to it. So I'll say B2, B3, B4. And then I'll just change the side as well. So you can distinguish between the different buttons. Let's say it's right now. Remember guys, it should be in uppercase. So I'll say right. Then here I'll say it should be top. Then let's say it be left only. And then I'll be changing the direction also. So I'll say it should be in x direction, or it should be stretched along the x axis. And this should be y again. So now what I'll be doing, I'll just pack the frame and I'll just close the loop. Now let me just run this. Alright, so here my label should be capital. Alright, now let me just run this. So now as you can see, my buttons has been arranged beautifully. So here my B1 has been set to left, so here it has been aligned left. Then my B2 is been aligned right, so it's again in the right hand side and it's in the x direction. Similarly, your B3 and B4 are aligned top and left along with the directions. So that is how you can set various attributes to your GUI application. Next, let me go back to the presentation and let's see what all are left. So we have learned how to create labels, then buttons, then how to create a frame in which labels and buttons are packed. Then let us see how you can create a grid. So now let me go back to my PyCharm and let's implement grid as well. So again, I'll just comment the whole code for now. So now what I'll be doing, I'll be first having some labels. So let's say I'll specify a label inside a root, and I have already mentioned root is equals to tk. So I'll be giving some text to it. So let's say I want text, let's say name, and I want the grid to it. So grid is nothing but a geometry manager which will basically help you to structure different components or the widgets inside a window. So here you can mention the row, and remember guys, your index will always start from 0. Then you can mention the column. Let's say my column is also 0. Then I have sticky, and I can give some direction, let's say north. So sticky is nothing but how your widget can expand and in which direction. So you have various directions such as north, you can type in east, you can type in W for west, and you can specify according to your needs. So I've just created one label. Now what I'll do, I'll create one entry box wherein the user can take input. So I'll type in entry and I'll pass the root. Then I can specify the width. Let's say it is 50.grid, and I'll again mention the row to it. Let's say row is equals to 0, and let's say column is equals to 1. And I'll have one more button, let's say button, and I'll say it's in root, and I'll have a text which says submit, and I'll pass the grid functionality which is in the row 0 and column, let's say 5, and I'll just close this loop. Now let me just run this code. So as you can see here, I have one label which is named as name. Then I have an entry box. So here you can type in any name. Let's say I want to type in ABC, and I have a submit button. So here the submit button will not do anything, but you can actually save the entries to a SQL database or anything you like. So we'll be discussing the SQL databases and all those stuff in our upcoming sessions, but in today's sessions, let us focus on GUI. Also, if you have any doubts, you can just let me know in the comment section and we will be replying you as soon as possible. Alright, so this is done. So now let me go back to my presentation and let's see what else is left. So we have covered the various attributes of grid. Now let us talk about the radio buttons and check buttons. So let me go back to my PyCharm and let's see how can you add a radio button and check buttons to your code. So now what I'll do, I have a label, I have an entry box, and I have a button. So next what I'll be doing, I'll be creating one more label. Let's say I'll just write it over here. Let's say I have one more label inside a root, and I want the text as gender, and I specify the grid functionality to it. So I'll say row is equals to 1, then column is equals to 0, and sticky to north, or you can say n. Then what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a radio button. So for radio button, what you need to do, you just need to type in radio button inside a root which has the text, let's say F, that is for female, and I'll specify the value to it, let's say 1. So this will basically ensures that which radio button is clicked on. Next I'll be just giving the grid. So I'll just copy the same thing from here, and I'll change the column value, let's say it is 1 now, and I'll have one more radio button where I have the text as M, or you can say male. I have a different value to it, let's say value 2. It should be in different columns, so I'll specify column 2 and sticky. So now let me just run this. Alright, so as you can see here, I have my two radio buttons, that is female and male. And once you click on this, the value over here that we have given, you can click on these radio buttons. Now let us see how you can implement the check buttons as well. So here I have implemented radio buttons. So check buttons are also very simple. So again for check buttons, I'll first create a label. So I'll just copy this label line, I'll paste it over here. I'll say the text as courses. It should be in my row 2. Column should be 0 and should be sticky towards the north direction. Next I need a check button, so I'll say check button. It should be inside the root. I'll specify a text to it. So let's say I want Python. Then I'll mention the grid. Let's say it should be in the row 3. Column should be 1 and sticky towards the north direction. Now I'll just copy this line, I'll paste it over here. So now let me just change the course's name. Let's say it's Django. Then let's say it's fast, which are nothing but the frameworks of Python. So now I'll just change the rows, that is 4 and 5, and columns should remain the same only. So now let me just run this code. So as you can see here, I have the radio buttons and I have the check buttons as well. So if I click on Python, a check is been displayed. Similarly, you can do it for Django and Flask, which are nothing but the Python frameworks. So as you can see here, I have created a short GUI application which has a name, which has a gender, and then you have some courses, or you can say the check buttons. And similarly, you can create an entire form and just click on submit. So clicking on submit right now, it doesn't do anything, but you can do a lot more when you go into details of it. So let me just close it for now. So here I have discussed all these components. So now let us implement a basic operation using all these. So now let me just comment the whole code. And what I'll be doing, I'll be performing some arithmetic operations. So now what I'll be doing, I'll be first creating a function. So let's say I'll be creating a function, let's say square. This will basically give me the square of a number. So here I'll be writing an event. So there I have just created a function which is square, and inside this I've given an event. Now let us first create the interface and then we'll come back to the logic. So here I'll say root is equals to tk. Alright, I guess over here I haven't, so let me just comment from here. Alright. Okay, so here I'll be first creating a label. So let me just type in label, then it should be inside a root. I'll give some text to it. So let's say I want to find the square of a number. So I'll just type in that and I'll just pack it. Next, what I'll be doing, I'll be taking an entry of a number. So I'll say number one, or you can say num1 is equals to entry, and I'll pass in the root. Next, I'll just pack this root and I can give some attribute. Let's say I want to give, it should be aligned to left. Next, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating one button. So this should be inside a root and it has a text, let's say squares 2. And I'll just bind my button. So I'll say button dot bind and I'll specify the button, let's say it's button 1. And I'll pass on the function that is square. So what I've done here, I've just bind an event handler to a button, which is nothing but btn. So whenever a person enters a number and clicks on button, which is equals to squares 2, it will just bind to an event listener. So now let me just pack this button as well. So I'll say button, or you can say btn dot pack, and I'll say side is equals to left. Next, I'll have one more entry box which gives me the results. So I'll say results, and I'll have an entry. I'll pass on the root. Then I'll be typing in result.pack and I'll specify the side as left again. And finally, I'll be just closing my loop. So now my interface is ready. Now let's go to my method wherein I will write the logic. So here what I'll be doing, I'll be first needing the number. So what I'll do, I'll say a int and I'll say num1.get. So this will basically get my number. So next what I have to do, I have to calculate the square of that number. So I'll say a into a and it's stored in the b. Then what I need, I want the result, which is a button over here. I want to display the result in this button. So I'll say result.insert and I'll pass over 0, b, which is the square of the number. So now let me just run this and let's see whether this works or not. So now as you can see here, I have the small GUI application. So now let me just enter the number, let's say 2 squares 2. So this gives me the result as 4. Similarly, if I say 22 squares 2, so it's just giving me the output after that. So what I need to do, I'll just go over here, I'll just change a logic a bit. So I just need to delete the previous value. So I'll say result.delete, I'll say 0 and I'll say end. And now let me just run this. So now if I say 2 squares to 2, then I say 22 squares to 484, and you can write similarly, you can write any number. So this is how you can perform various operations on this GUI application. Now let me go back to my presentation and let's see what else we're left with. So here we have implemented all these small components to create a basic GUI application. So let me now summarize this session. So first of all, we have discussed how a scripting language is different from a programming language. After that, I have introduced you to Python and its various features. Then we have covered the various modules in Python, which are sys, subprocess, OS, math, random, datetime, and JSON. And we have implemented some of them as well. Then we have talked about AWS Scripting, wherein I have showed you how to create an EC2 instance using the Boto module. And then we have also created a S3 bucket with the same. And finally, towards the end, we have learned the basics of GUI programming. So I hope you found this session informative. So if you guys have any doubts or any questions, you can just comment below and I'll be happy to help you with the same. Well, thank you everyone. Bye bye.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!